It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Sheff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. In case you missed it, last week was the annual Michigan Week celebration right here in Greater West Bloomfield. An incredible event showcasing all of the hard work and dedication that many members of the community provide every single day. Civic Center TV was there to capture all the action, and our very own Kevin McIntosh had a chance to speak to some of the big winners of the day and hear how they feel to be assisting our community.
The Michigan Week Community Awards Breakfast is an annual event in West Bloomfield that highlights residents who make a difference in their community by volunteering. As Civic Center TV covered this event, we spoke to attendees and awardees about volunteering and what the acknowledgement means to them.
Volunteering means offering to support another in need without an expectation of something in return, and part of my commitment to humanity to help those who need it.
The church means a whole lot to me, and it meant a whole lot to me, and I volunteered at the church. And when my children were growing up, I volunteered at the school. Where children and your children go, you should be an active parent in that particular school.
A celebration of service to and from local residents who take the initiative to push the community forward. With the West Bloomfield Fire Department and retired West Bloomfield Police Chief Mike Patton receiving one of the highest honors of the event.
Both of them received the Dr. Seymour Gretschko Award, one representing a group, our esteemed fire department, one an individual, our esteemed former chief of police.
Well, recognizing the fire department's role as a department, as a whole, for youth in the community and really advocating for community service and public service. That's what it's all about, and couldn't be more grateful to be part of the team that's doing that here in West Bloomfield.
Well, I was quite surprised, if you couldn't tell by the look on my face, but this is, they mentioned 40 years of service. Oh gosh, I hope it's not me, but it is. Look, I'm really grateful here. I was blessed, Kevin, have you heard me say this before, when I landed here in West Bloomfield over 40 years ago. And I've had a remarkable career. I didn't do hardly any of it alone. I had a great team that I worked with over the years. I'm fortunate to hold a current seat on the township board, and so I can continue in service to our great community here.
Being acknowledged for the Dr. Seymour Gretschko Award is a respectable honor. It symbolizes what he represents in the greater West Bloomfield community.
The Michigan Week Committee so valued the legacy of Dr. Gretschko that we literally believed there should be a way to lift up the principles that he modeled. So the values in his life in support of youth, and the quote, "If I err, I will err on the side of the child," meant so much that we felt we needed to perpetuate that.
Say yes to volunteering in Michigan was the theme for this year's event, and the greater West Bloomfield community took their time to say thank you to those who said yes. From Temple Israel, West Bloomfield, I'm Kevin McIntosh, Civic Center TV.
Appreciate Kevin for getting all that coverage at the 2025 Michigan Week Awards, one of my favorite events of the year, to see so many people that make this community what it is be recognized in this way. You can see the full coverage of the event on our website at civiccentertv.com/Michigan Week 2025. A late fee forgiveness program is currently underway here in Michigan. The 48th District Court is holding a late fee forgiveness program that went into effect on May 1st and will continue until June 13th. The court will waive late fees, bench warrant fees, and penalties for civil infraction cases that were issued within the jurisdictions covered by the 48th District Court. This includes the cities of Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Keego Harbor, Orchard Lake Village, Sylvan Lake, and the townships of Bloomfield Hills and West Bloomfield. For assistance in determining eligibility and the total amount owed, individuals should contact the court at 248-686-5150 or 248-686-5148, Monday through Friday between 1:30 and 4 o'clock p.m. Celebrating over 2 decades of excellence, the Orchard Lake Fine Arts Show returns July 26th and 27th of this year to the heart of West Bloomfield, Michigan. And as part of the show's commitment to community and education, the event will also be featuring a youth art competition for students in grades K through 8, which means ages 5 through 13. Young artists are invited to submit up to 2 original, personally handmade works of art for public display during the show. Entry is just $3 per piece, and this initiative offers students a unique opportunity to experience the entrepreneurial side of the arts. To apply, you can just head to their website, hotworks.org/kids, to find out more. As we're currently in the month of May, that means prom season is quickly approaching. But whoever said that prom just had to be for the high school kids? Magnolia by the Lakes in Keego Harbor is celebrating a senior prom of their own for their residents, making sure that they have a magical night of their own. Here to tell us more about the event is Dr. Faraday Bagney, the CEO of Magnolia by the Lakes. Dr. Bagney, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to be talking with you. Really interested to hear about this event that's coming up. I first found out about this senior prom when I was at Magnolia by the Lakes for your Easter celebration. What inspired the idea of organizing a senior prom for the residents at Magnolia by the Lakes?
Well, Magnolia by the Lakes, as you know, is a senior resort, and the month of May is the month that most students, college students, celebrate the prom, as well as there are weddings, graduations. It's a happy month of the year. And we decided that we also would do something for our residents so that in the autumn of their lives, they can have the best season of their life. And that was the impetus for establishing, and this is our first one, the Magnolia Prom. And
that sounds incredible. That's such a great feeling of positivity to be providing to all the seniors at Magnolia by the Lakes. How have the residents responded to the announcement of the prom? And has it brought up some emotions or memories?
They are ecstatic about it. They are dressing up, they are getting their makeup, they're getting their suits ready. It's a big deal. It's the biggest deal that we have at Magnolia, aside from Thanksgiving and Christmas, of course. And they are very excited, and we are very excited for them.
I can imagine so. I can't wait to see all the happy faces at this event. And if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Bagney, this event is not just exclusive to the seniors at Magnolia by the Lakes, but it's open to seniors that don't necessarily have to live at the residency. It's open to the entire community. Is that correct?
No, not really. We have invited the seniors, their loved ones, and a number of celebrities from the city of Keego Harbor, West Bloomfield, Sylvan Lake, etc., the police department, the fire department, to come and join us and celebrate. Also, the best part about it is that we have an arrangement with a number of high schools who have had their proms, and they will be coming here to escort our seniors during the event. And it's going to be a lot of fun, especially since they have already had their prom, so the ladies can dress up in their prom dresses, and the gentlemen students can actually put on their suits and come and escort the residents.
Oh, that sounds great. It's going to be a fun night for everybody. Now, I think you just teased a couple of the things that are going to be taking place at this prom event, but what are some of the special features or themes that might be planned for this event? Because prom usually has a theme for their dance.
Well, since magnolia, we have a number of magnolia trees that are pink. Our theme is white, black, and pink. And so all the decorations, all the flowers are going to be white and pink. We also have the gentlemen and the ladies that are going to escort our residents. They're going to actually go, we have instructed the residents to stay in their townhomes, and the gentleman will go and knock on the door, and they will give them a corsage or a boutonniere, and they will escort them down the hall or down the elevator into the village square where the event is taking place. We have also hired a band named, let me give you the name, Marco Floyd Band from Detroit, that is going to be coming and playing live music for dancing, and the escort seniors and our residents will be dancing. And also our executive chefs, we have 2 executive chefs, have prepared a very beautiful spread of different food. It's just amazing culinary they have created for them. And it's just going to be a fun night of dancing, of course, drinking, since they are at home here, but not the students, and having fun, just to remind them what it was life like when they were young, and that they can still enjoy the same scenario as seniors.
I mean, it sounds like so much fun. Everything you're describing, it sounds adorable, and it sounds so, so great for these seniors to experience. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, we're talking with the CEO of Magnolia by the Lakes in Keego Harbor, Dr. Faraday Bagney, talking about the senior prom that's making its way to Magnolia by the Lakes very, very soon. Now, Dr. Bagney, what ways do you think that this prom is going to help build a sense of unity and camaraderie among the residents?
Well, we do have the concept of family at Magnolia. And at all times, we consider every resident and their loved ones as our family, Magnolia family. And they also consider us as their family. And as an example, my 3 grandsons and one of my granddaughters are attending this event and are going to escort and dance with the residents. So the concept of family is accentuated by the fact that we are bringing their loved ones and my family and the Magnolia staff all together, and they are dancing and celebrating, sitting together, talking, and just remembering what life used to be and talking about it and sharing their memories. I think that brings them a lot closer.
I think you're absolutely right. And it already sounds like this prom event is going to be a huge success for Magnolia by the Lakes. Do you see this prom possibly becoming an annual tradition or maybe expanding in any way in the future?
Well, we would like to make it an annual event, and we will make it an annual event. At the same time, we would like to expand it for the Father's Day. Right now, our Father's Day event is having a picnic on our Magnolia Park on the coast of Cass Lake, and having boating and grilling and the sort of activities that men would like more than women. But we will expand that in the future, and so that we will perhaps combine this prom closer to Father's Day so that we can have both the male and female residents at Magnolia participate and don't feel that they are left out.
That is amazing. Can't wait to see what's to come with this event. Dr. Bagney, I got one more quick question for you before we let you go. What message would you like to share with other senior living communities who might be inspired to do something similar?
What I would like to advise the other senior centers that a senior has a life in two ways. One is their mental capacity, and the other is the physical capacity. And we should nurture both mentally and physically every resident that comes to our community, regardless of their status, mental status, physical status. And we do that at Magnolia, and we call it Magnolia Magic. And it's very interesting. We talk to every loved one that brings a parent or a loved one here to stay with us. And we tell them, give us 2 months and you will see a different person. And I would like to suggest that all other senior communities consider the mind of a resident just as important as the physical aspect of that resident, and consider nurturing both the mind and the body.
I love that, and let's hope that everyone starts to gain a little bit of that Magnolia magic all throughout the community. Dr. Faraday Bagney, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Really excited to be hearing about this senior prom event that's going to be taking place at Magnolia by the Lakes. It will be taking place next Wednesday on May 21st. Soul Studio for Michigan is going to be opening May 22nd from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Friendship Circle's Farber Center in West Bloomfield. The exhibit is going to be showcasing art by individuals with special needs, highlighting their creative interpretations of Michigan's beauty, landmarks, and culture. I recently spoke with Community Partnership Coordinator with the Friendship Circle, Caitlin Cartwright, and one of the featured artists for the show, Carly Suris, to hear all about it. Really excited to be hearing about this great exhibit coming to West Bloomfield. Caitlin, I'm going to start with you. What makes the West Bloomfield community such a powerful setting for hosting an inclusive art exhibit like Soul Studio for Michigan?
The West Bloomfield community is just such a supportive place. It's wonderful. It's wild to me the amount of people locally that come in to the studio or the cafe here. And they know someone or they have a connection and then they bring their friends and family from out of town across the world to come here. And they always talk about what a beautiful highlight it is for them to be in this space with the art studio for adults with special needs doing really gorgeous creative work.
That's right, and I've been to Soul Studio many times. I've seen all of the incredible artwork. It's such an amazing thing to see the creativity of this community firsthand. Carly, I want to talk to you for a second. What can you tell us about the Michigan memory or place that's inspired your artwork in this year's show?
Well, this is called Patchwork, and I made it with printmaking paper, and then another facilitating artist sewed it together to make a picture. And we were just talking, me and Caitlin, before we got on air, about how it represents the Upper Peninsula, and I totally agree with her, because it kind of reminds me of looking out a window when driving on the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, I love that. And the art looks absolutely beautiful. If you're seeing it right now on Civic Center TV, Caitlin is holding it up. It looks absolutely incredible. And that is just one of the pieces you will be taking a look at for this year's art show. Caitlin, how has the community responded to past exhibits, and what do you hope people will take away from this one in particular?
The art show openings are such an amazing time for the community to come out and check out what's going on. It's kind of the culmination of a lot of really hard work our artists have put in. We prepare months in advance. All the artists are working hard to create a piece of work that's meaningful to them, that's in line with the theme of the show. So they're working hard. It's a time for celebration. We have so many of our artists and their families come in. We have staff come in, and it's kind of like seeing peak Soul Studio. All the magic kind of comes together, and it's really just a happy celebration. And you see gorgeous art and get to talk to the artists about their inspiration.
All the magic comes together. I love that. That absolutely encapsulates everything you see at Soul Studio. Carly, what do you enjoy most about being a part of Soul Studio, and how has it helped you to grow as an artist?
Good question. It's a hard question to answer. But the thing I enjoy most about Soul Studio is, like Caitlin said, the connections that we all make, and the ability to create through our past experiences. And that's what I take away from the Soul Studio, is the ability to connect with my past experiences through art. And it's really just a healing experience. And I really enjoy it here.
Well, that's amazing to hear, and that's amazing to hear of everything that you've gained from Soul Studio. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, we have Caitlin Cartwright with the Friendship Circle, and we have one of their featured artists, Carly Suris, for the upcoming Soul Studio for Michigan Art Gallery that's going to be taking place on May 22nd from 5 to 7 at the Friendship Circle's Farber Center in West Bloomfield. Caitlin, how does Soul Studio help foster connection and understanding between artists with special needs and the greater West Bloomfield public?
Good question. I think for me, the special needs community, I think, it can be not seen in its full beauty sometimes. In its full richness and capacity and talent. And so staff here, I'm so excited just to be working every day with amazing artists like Carly, and to see her creative juices flowing, get to know her as a person, and in all of her kindness and her volunteer work and her mentorship with others. It's such a beautiful thing to see. So when people come to see the art show, that's what they're seeing. They're seeing a more full, holistic picture of the special needs community and all of the amazing things that are possible.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Carly, if someone sees your art at the show, what do you hope they feel or think about Michigan through your eyes?
I hope they feel like a sense of home and a sense of peace that I've put into this work, because Michigan is just a great place to live. And I feel like, especially with the winters and with the weather conditions, sometimes people tend to have a negative feeling about Michigan. And I hope they see how beautiful this state can be when they look at my artwork.
That's absolutely right. There is so much beauty in this amazing state, and it's amazing that you, Carly, and many other artists are helping to capture that beauty. One more quick question before we wrap things up. Caitlin, what role do local partnerships play in making events like this possible, and how can West Bloomfield residents or businesses get involved?
We would love, the more the merrier. I'm a big believer in partnerships, just kind of helping spread the word. If you're a business that is looking to make your walls a little bit more beautiful and energized, it's a great way to come get an original piece of art for your space. And it tells a story. So it's really like art that tells a story, art with a message. We love to partner with people in that capacity of sharing art, doing pop-up gallery events, creating gifts for the people in your networks. We can, I always say with Soul Studio, if we can dream it, we can make it happen. So these partnerships are super important because they provide funding for our artists. All artists get a 50% commission of every original artwork that's sold. And it's huge for our artists to have their work be appreciated and looked at and purchased by people in the community. And it's just really a win-win.
That's absolutely right. And it's great to continue to have exhibits like this to showcase all of the creativity throughout Greater West Bloomfield. Caitlin, Carly, thank you both so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thank you so much.
So much great creativity to be on display all throughout Greater West Bloomfield. A big thank you to Caitlin and Carly for taking the time to talk with us here on the Splash Live. And as one more reminder, this exhibit will be opening on May 22nd. Lots of great stuff we've already talked about. Lots of even better stuff we're going to be talking about right when we come back from the break, including what people should be doing, what rising seniors should be doing to prepare for their senior photos. We're going to get into that conversation right after this quick break. Live.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Hi, I'm Chris Fry, Park Superintendent, West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on 1 million views on YouTube. Thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you for having me on The Splash throughout the season to talk about activities out in the parks. Chris Fry, proud to be 1 in a million.
Good nutrition can help make sure you have enough iron, calcium, and vitamin C in your body, which can make it harder for lead to enter your bloodstream. Help protect your family from the harmful effects of lead.
Missed one of our live broadcasts or one of your local municipal meetings? Check it out online at civiccentertv.com. Every meeting, show, and interview on demand. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. And now, back to the Splash Live.
Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Jake Sheff, going over all of the biggest news and events from right here in Greater West Bloomfield. With the school year winding down, seniors are preparing to bid high school farewell and make the big jump to college. But the rising seniors of this year, the juniors, have a lot of work to do to prepare themselves for their own senior year. One of the biggest things on their to-do list is, of course, senior pictures, which should be getting taken sooner rather than later. Here to tell us some tips for rising seniors on preparing themselves for their senior photos, we have the co-owners of Frameable Faces in West Bloomfield, Doug and Allie Cohen, joining us right now on the Splash Live. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Hey there. How are you?
I'm great. Really, really happy to have you with us and really excited to be getting into this conversation. It's an important one to be having around this type of year. Doug, we're going to start with you. What are some of the most important things rising seniors should consider when choosing a photographer for their senior portraits?
Well, there's several things. I think they should consider the process that the photographer brings to the table. So I would say that and the personality of the photographer are two really important things. So when I say the process, you want a photographer that's going to hold your hand through the whole process, meet with you ahead of time, get to know you, and genuinely seem interested in creating something that is about you for your senior pictures that will be really all about capturing your personality, and that they have some ideas about how they go about their craft. Like, you can tell the difference between somebody who's really engaged and really committing to creating something special for you, as opposed to somebody who might not quite have all the experience, doesn't really know the right questions to ask, or doesn't really seem to have a game plan. So you definitely want to be, as you sort through the photographers that you either talk to or meet with, the ones that really have a plan and are really committed to creating something special. And then also, just in terms of how you connect with them. You know, if you feel a connection to your photographer, that's going to come through in the photos. You know, that there's a lot to be said for how comfortable you are and how you feel about the person who's taking your photos. If there's no connection there, it'll look like there's no connection there. So that's one thing I would start with, just in terms of figuring out who your photographer is going to be.
That's absolutely right. Connection is very important. And I do have to say, connection was not an issue on my end, because my mom actually worked at a photography studio for many, many years. So she was very on top of things and made sure that I got my senior photos done in a timely manner. I also got them done for free. But more importantly, Allie, I'm going to go to you next. How far in advance should students book their senior photo session, especially if they maybe want seasonal backgrounds, like maybe fall foliage or spring blooms?
So we are already booking for the class of 2026 right now. We've actually been booking. I think the first senior we booked for the class of 2026, I believe, was in February of this year.
Oh, wow.
And it was for that reason. She wanted a specific season. So she wanted the fall colors, and she wanted to make sure that she got there in the peak of fall colors. So she booked early. She had her choice of time, and that enabled her to, if something happens, because we do live in Michigan, and in the fall it could be 80, 90 degrees. It could be really cold. It could be rainy. So she's got that flexibility now because her session is already booked. So we've got that flexibility to move around if we need to accommodate her and what she envisioned for her senior photos.
Man, people already making the jump and getting those appointments booked. Very, very important to do so, as you both said. And for when students want these photos taken, I'm sure they want to show a little bit of their personality in these photos. They want to make them stand out. So, a question for you, Doug. How can students incorporate their personality or maybe their hobbies or interests into their session to make the photos feel a little more authentic?
Well, we always say that there's different categories of personality for the seniors when we try to present it to them and give them some options and talk it through. Like, are you, somebody who gravitates towards nature? And do you want to be out on a trail with trees and water behind you and something really pretty? Or do you want something more edgy, in the city, in alleyways where there's, where it's not real clean looking and there's graffiti on the walls, but that can be a really cool look too. And that can be something that really can kind of define how a senior feels about who they are and what kind of personality they have. And then in terms of their interests, they can bring those into the picture as well. So if they are a musician and they're in their orchestra or their band, they can incorporate their instrument. If they're an athlete, we can take one of a football or a basketball or a volleyball and have a flame coming off of it and do some really gritty stuff that really brings out, their competitive nature in the sport that defines them, or whatever it might be. So we talk all of that through ahead of time to find out what they're into. And if what they're into is important enough for them to bring it into those photos, and then we can go to a location, whether it's a stadium that they play in outdoors, for example, or we can do it here in our studio because we have a brick and mortar here in the Orchard Mall. So we have that advantage of having an indoor studio, and we can create some things on different backdrops indoors as well. So we really plan that out ahead of time in a very consultative way so that we accomplish what they're looking to get.
That's right. And you said it yourself. The indoor studio definitely has a lot of benefits, as you don't have to worry about weather interfering with photos and possibly causing some issues. So you're absolutely right. Lots of things to consider. Allie, I'm going to go to you next. Can you walk us through what a typical senior photo session with you looks like, from preparation to final delivery?
Absolutely. So from the very beginning, before we even start the session, we will have the senior or rising senior and or one or both parents or guardians come into the studio where we'll meet. We'll kind of plan out that photo session, ask all the questions. What do you see? If you could design your perfect session, what would you want to do? So we can give suggestions, but these aren't our senior photos. These are the seniors' senior photos. So we want to know what is important to that senior. So we get all that information. We have then a design, perks of working at home, a design consultation where we plan out outfits. I can go shopping personally with the senior and the parent. I can do it virtually. Send me outfits, send me anything. We'll make outfits that way. Then the day of the session, hair and makeup, if needed, is done. And we've got a variety of people on staff, well, at our disposal, that will help to do that. Then the day of the photo session comes, everybody's very excited. We have a dressing room set up for the senior in the studio. And then we hit it. So usually it's about, maybe 1/3 of studio work, and then we are off to the races on location. There are times where we do all studio sessions or all location sessions. All sessions with us are fun, and we make sure of that, because by the time that session comes, we know who our senior model is, who our models are, and we are able to connect with these people. So it's always a good time, and that's how we yield the best results. So usually after the session's over, we end it with hugs, and it's not uncommon to grab dinner or dessert or a snack or something with us at the end of our sessions. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We are all encompassing, and we really put our arms around our people and make sure that they have a really good time that yield the very best results.
Man, everything sounds like a well-oiled machine. I can imagine that you guys are going to be very, very busy in the coming months. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, we have the co-owners of Frameable Faces in West Bloomfield, Doug and Allie Cohen, as well as their cat, joining us right now on the Splash Live, talking about preparations for senior photo seasons for these upcoming seniors, the rising seniors. And I'd imagine that when it comes to taking photos, maybe not all the time things go perfectly. What are some common mistakes or regrets you hear from students after their senior photo sessions, and how can they avoid these mistakes? Doug?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, I mean, the obvious one would be that, sometimes people will come to us for a session to correct one that they might have already had, because they went with somebody that they shouldn't have, or they weren't happy with the results, and they didn't, listen, without getting cheesy about this point, okay, you get what you pay for. And sometimes people will go to somebody who's more or less an amateur, and everybody has to start somewhere. But, if they think they're getting a deal because someone's going to meet them on location somewhere, take a bunch of pictures and hand them a disc, and they're done, and that's it, and it's cheap, it's probably going to look and feel cheap, and you're probably not going to get the best results. It's just the way it is. And sometimes we have to correct sessions that were done with the wrong photographer. So, and listen, like I said, everyone has to start somewhere. I'm not disparaging people who are just getting going in their photography business, but the ease of entry to this business is a factor that wasn't quite there maybe 20 years ago, and a lot of people think they're a photographer, but they're not really. So sometimes we have to correct those, and people are like, "Yep, we should have come to you in the first place," and then we end up doing another session for them. That's a unfortunately a relatively common mistake. But beyond that, I don't know. I guess maybe they didn't plan enough with their wardrobe, or maybe for the girls they made a decision not to get their makeup done, for example, and maybe because they were afraid that it would look too clownish and they're not used to wearing makeup, and we always encourage them to do that, because if you go to the right makeup artist, they can make it look so that you still look natural. So sometimes people don't make that choice and then they regret that. But we like to think that we cover all of those things because of the way we approach everything. And that also goes for, on the back end when it comes to products, because we have an ordering meeting with our clients where they come back in and they view the images with us on a big screen. We can virtually show them what their images will look like on their wall, and we really walk them through that part of it too, so that they get quality art to put on their walls that they can appreciate. You can't really get that from somebody who just hands you a thumb drive.
You're absolutely right. Lots of things to look out for, and that's why taking these photos, it's an intricate process, and it's important that you make sure that everything goes the way you want it to, and you guys absolutely help in accomplishing a lot of these things for these rising seniors. I got one more question for both of you before we let you go. What should seniors look for when reviewing and selecting their final images for yearbooks, prints, or graduation announcements once everything is said and done with taking the photos? Allie, we'll start with you.
Personality, 100% personality. So as a parent, I've had 2 kids go through their senior photos that I did for free, mind you, just like you. And my favorite shots are the ones where you can see their faces. Bodies in full length are wonderful from the parent perspective. That's great. But I want to see my kid's face. I want to see my student's face, because that's what gets me as the mom. The kids, from what I've told, they want stuff that shows their style, shows who they are. If it's the boho chic, if it's the gritty athlete, if it's the pretty princess in the field of flowers, that's what they want to see, and that's what they want to show. So like Doug said, when we have our first meeting, we drill down and we get to know what our seniors want, and then that's what we give them, and then we can help guide them through the process of selection. When it comes to yearbooks, though, those are pretty rigid parameters, and the schools all set those, and those are pretty standard. It's usually a gray background, sometimes a blue, something, I tell everybody, the guys, suit and tie, the girls don't wear black, everybody wears black. 9 out of 10 girls that I tell to not wear black come to the studio wearing black. So it's fine. It always looks good. And yeah, so that's it. Mostly personality to me.
Doug, same question.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that's really important is for the senior and for the parents to go into this prepared to compromise a little bit. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of compromise, and sometimes we can fill that role a little bit as mediator, as long as we, because we try not to take a complete side with the parent or the senior. And what I mean by that is, sometimes you'll have a senior who comes in and sees a photo of themselves that they don't like, because they're smiling really big and they think they're cheesing too hard. And the mom is like, well, no, but I love your smile. I want to see your smile. And the senior wants it to be more straight-faced and edgy. And the mom says, well, when I see you looking like that, I see you giving me attitude. And then so there's sometimes there's a disconnect between the parent and the senior a little bit, but it's okay to have a little of both and to go into it knowing that you're probably going to, if you really want everybody to be happy, go into it knowing that it's okay to have a little compromise. The parents don't necessarily have to get every image that they want exactly how they want it, and the senior needs to have a little bit of flexibility with their parents as well. If they both get some of what they want, then everybody will be happy. And if they go into it knowing that that's going to be a piece, then it might be easier for them to be prepared emotionally, mentally for that.
Of course, it's a team effort. Everybody wants the same goal, to make these photos look as amazing as they can be, and you guys absolutely do that. Doug, Allie, thank you both so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. These guys are going to be hard at work throughout the next few months, as are many other photography places, as these rising seniors start to get working on getting these senior photos taken. Can't wait to see how all of these photos turn out for the next school year. Oakland County is partnering with the Michigan College Access Network for Ticket to Tuition. MCAN and MyLeap have launched a sweepstakes offering $10 $50,000 and $40 $10,000 prizes to Michigan students who complete the FAFSA for the first time for the 2025-2026 academic year. The initiative aims to boost FAFSA completion rates, which are essential for accessing federal, state, and institutional financial aid. Ryan Fewens-Bliss, the executive director of the Michigan College Access Network, recently appeared on the Splash Live to tell us all about it. Glad to be getting into this conversation. Even though this year's school year is starting to come to an end, people are always looking ahead to the next year. How is MCAN collaborating with local organizations in West Bloomfield to promote FAFSA completion and awareness of the Ticket to Tuition sweepstakes?
That's a great question. We're working with local community-based organizations, local K-12 schools, local intermediate school districts, and local community colleges to get the message to people in your community that you can access college. You can still access college in the fall if you fill out the FAFSA, and you will see how much money you're able to access to get to college. In Michigan, we have the new community college guarantee. So if you live within a community college district, which folks in Oakland County certainly do, you can access a free associate's degree or certificate from your local community college. The FAFSA is the ticket into that program.
That's absolutely right. It's the ticket to the next phase of your education. Ryan, what specific challenges do students in communities like West Bloomfield face regarding college access, and how does MCAN aim to address them?
Well, number one is always the cost. It is expensive to go to college. We have started to address this with new financial aid. In the last 5 years, the state has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in new financial aid that didn't exist when I went to college here in Michigan. And so we've been attacking that piece of it. The FAFSA, again, is the ticket to access those funds. But we also hear from students and families that housing is expensive, transportation is expensive, childcare is expensive for students who may be parents. So we try to help students figure out how to wrap around those other services so that they can access education. And then their family and themselves can be more successful and can grow in their income and their stability.
That's right. And people like you, Ryan, are doing so much work to help make sure that everybody has those funds and the money to afford college. And you're trying to achieve the 60 by 30 goal. Could you elaborate on what that initiative is and how it impacts communities in Oakland County?
Yes, so back in 2019, in Governor Whitmer's first address to the state, really, she set a goal of 60 by 30. It's the first time the state has set a college attainment goal. 60 by 30 means 60% of Michigan residents will have a degree or post-secondary certificate by the year 2030. And that's because of economic data that says the state will need that many people with certificates and degrees for our economy to continue growing, or we import the talent from other communities, other states, and other countries. We want to make sure Michigan folks have an economic opportunity here. So the governor set that, the legislature then codified that in the state budget every year since. And so we're working toward that. What's interesting is it's a statewide goal. So local communities, local areas like Oakland County certainly needs more than 60% for your economy. You probably are more like an 80% need. So your 80% will cover for some of the more rural communities who need a smaller percent than 60%. That's how we get the 60% statewide goal.
I like that. Everybody chipping in to help make sure that everybody else is doing just as well. And Ryan, what metrics does MCAN use to assess the effectiveness of programs like Ticket to Tuition in increasing college enrollment and completion rates?
Yeah, well, it's not going to be a surprise. We measure college enrollment and completion rates. We measure FAFSA completion, certainly as a leading indicator to that. We measure the number of students in Michigan going to college. We measure the number of students who are persisting in college, which means they are staying and getting credits toward graduation. And then we measure the number of people graduating. And then as a larger community-based number, we measure the people in Michigan who have a certificate or a degree. That's where that 60 by 30% comes from. That's anybody who lives in a Michigan community having a certificate or a degree. So we measure the entire community, and then we also measure the high schoolers who have come from that community.
Leaving no stone unturned. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, we have MCAN Executive Director Ryan Fewens-Bliss talking about the Ticket to Tuition sweepstakes that's going to be taking effect for the 2025 and 26 academic year. Now, Ryan, I would imagine something like this, as great as what everything that MCAN is doing, it's not something you can accomplish by yourselves. You need some help from local schools and local organizations to help really push everything together. How can local schools and community organizations partner with MCAN to support students' post-secondary aspirations?
Well, we know that the best way for schools to get involved in this is to have a trained and licensed school counselor with a caseload that they can manage. We know that across the state, there is a dearth of school counselors when we need them most. And so school counselors are where we invest a ton of time and energy because we know they are the best route to getting students where they want to go in their post-secondary plans. But it's not just about the K-12 schools, community-based organizations, after-school programs, the colleges themselves. We're all working together to try to get students to where they want to get to in life. We use the term right match, right fit, that there's a college for every student. You just have to find the right match and fit college. And that's what we're all working toward. How do we get everyone to where they need to go? And that might be a local community college, and that might be Harvard.
That's right. Everyone's doing the work. And I love that shout out for the school counselors. They do so much, and they really help to put a lot of these students on the path to success. And that's kind of what I want to get into right now. And that's that long-term impact. Beyond financial incentives, what long-term strategies is MCAN implementing to sustain increased college access and success in Michigan?
We use systems change as our framework for what we do here at MCAN. We're trying to make the K-12 system more student and post-secondary friendly, and we're partnering with them to do that. We're partnering with colleges to make sure they are focused on retention of students, persistence toward completion, and then completion. It's not enough just to send folks to college. They've got to be able to complete and get that certificate or degree. So we're working with those systems to make sure they are more student friendly and that they are aiming toward post-secondary education and completion.
That's amazing. And Ryan, something like this, I'm curious to know what this means for someone like you. What inspired your commitment to college access, and how does your personal journey influence your leadership at MCAN?
Listen, I waltzed into college with very few barriers. My mom filled out the FAFSA for me. I got into the college that I wanted, and when I looked around looking for my classmates from high school, they weren't there. I didn't realize there were so many barriers to college for a lot of people, for most people in this country and in our state. And so that privilege that I had really hit me hard. And I learned that I needed to make sure that there was a pathway for other people, because college changed my life. It made me the man who I am. It made me the professional who I am. Everybody deserves that opportunity to have their life changed for the better and designed by them. College lets you do that. And so that's what I've committed my professional life to, is making it so other people have just as much access and just ease of access as I had when I went to college.
I love that answer, making college accessibility easy for everyone. Ryan, I got one more quick question before we let you go, because I'm sure a lot of people watching are going to want to learn more about the Ticket to Tuition sweepstakes. Where can people go to learn a little more information about this program?
the website, tickettotuition.org, and you are able to see all the information about how to register. And I want to be clear, this is open to every new applicant to FAFSA, whether you're an adult, whether you're a K-12 student. If you filled out the FAFSA for the first time this academic year, you are eligible to register for the big prizes. You got to register by May 16th, but all of those folks are eligible, and we'd encourage you to text that number today.
That's absolutely right. Some big prizes for people to fill out the FAFSA and to get them a big head start on the next phase of their college education. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Anytime. Thanks.
A very important program. We thank Ryan Fewens-Bliss for taking the time to talk with us here on the Splash Live about the Ticket to Tuition program. Sure to be helping a lot of kids throughout the next few months as they get ready for college. Recently, West Bloomfield held its National Day of Prayer. They paused for the National Day of Prayer. It was originally, the gathering was going to be set outside on the Civic Center campus, but weather had other plans, but it brought the interfaith service inside Town Hall. Kevin McIntosh was out on the scene to see how faith and community leaders united in prayer.
I'm here outside the West Bloomfield Township Town Hall, where residents, clergy, and local officials joined together for Meet Me at the Flagpole, observing National Day of Prayer with a brief interfaith service. I stepped inside to talk to some of the patrons to find out why this event is so important for Greater West Bloomfield.
So I was honored to be one of the organizers that put together this first inaugural Meet Me at the Flagpole. Obviously, we're not outside today, but this gives us an excellent opportunity to bring the community together during a time when we recognize there's a lot of division in the community, and we want to find a space for solidarity, for a common voice, and to know that we are one community that can be strengthened together.
I think that with so much division in our country right now, it's really important to come together across all differences, and we have such a rich religious difference in West Bloomfield that it just felt right to take part in this today.
Hosted by the Greater West Bloomfield Faith and Community Alliance and the West Bloomfield Township Police Department, this marks one of the few times the police department sets aside duty to stand with residents in prayer and reflection.
Because we come from a very diverse, culturally diverse community that has a rich tapestry of different faith traditions. This is an opportunity for us to come together as a community and reflect on what makes us so special. Attendees offered prayers for unity, peace, and guidance for elected and civic leaders and residents of the community.
I think prayer really helps us remember that despite differences of religion, we are all seeking the same thing in a lot of ways. We're all seeking guidance and strength and comfort from the divine, whether we call that God or something else. And I think when we remember we are united in our wants and our desires for this world and for our lives, then we get to see each other more as neighbors, and that strengthens our community.
You know, we're truly a diverse community, and it's great to see ways that all of our voices can be shared in a public forum, knowing that we are one community with one voice and can really hear one another truly.
People of all ages and backgrounds were drawn by a shared desire to lift up community and leadership in a moment of gratitude and hope.
I'm hopeful that our prayers can be heard and that we can recognize that we all share an aspiration to bring our community forward and be more welcoming as a result of finding connection here today.
We are far better when we work together than to have any type of issues divide us.
As the final prayers echoed here at Town Hall, the Meet Me at the Flagpole event has underscored West Bloomfield's commitment to unity and compassion. From every corner of our community, voices joined together in a single hope for peace, leadership, and shared purpose. From the West Bloomfield Township Town Hall, I'm Kevin McIntosh, Civic Center TV.
A powerful display of faith and fellowship right here in Greater West Bloomfield. But that's going to do it for us today here on the Splash Live. Big thank you to all of our guests and for everybody on the team for helping make this show possible. I've been your host, Jake Schaff. Live, local, social. It's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.